Okay, this is the second take that I've done, well, technically like the 100th take, but I just finished this whole recording and then it was deleted because program I used crashed. It was OneDrive's fault. Kept tweaking out. I don't know. I'm upset. Let's just get right into this. I was planning on making a Dying Light 2 video a long while before now. Like, I was planning it before my Dead Island 2 video. And if you know that video, it was one of my first. So I thought that with all of the new updates that it's gotten, why not return to that and try to remake that video for now. As I said, Dying Light 2 was massively updated, changing honestly a bunch of different things from the parkour to the gore system. And I thought it would be perfect to tell my thoughts on how the game feels now and how it plays after getting all of those updates. You know, I played the crap out of this game, and my previous video was fully based on the previous versions of the game, so I think, you know, let's just push this intro right aside and get into how Dying Light 2 feels after all those updates. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just start this video off by explaining the new updates and what is supposed to be different in the game. Now, I'm just going to be brushing past a couple of the bigger things, as with the past couple of updates, there's been quite a few differences from blood, gore, performance, bugs, parkour, and all of that. So I'm just going to be focusing on the bigger topics. So the two bigger updates were Gut Feeling and the Good Night, Good Luck update. And those two actually changed quite a few aspects of the gameplay and combat, along with the world and atmosphere itself. So with the Gut Feeling update, which came out back in April, and there was a big reason this update came out back then. So as I mentioned Dead Island 2 earlier, as this was one of my first videos I made on this channel, it also came out in April, just around the same time as the Gut Feeling update. So if you remember that video or know about the Dead Island games, the first two were originally made by Techland, the developers who made both Dying Light games. But with Dead Island 2, Techland was pushed out a while ago due to issues with Deep Silver, and there was that type of debate for Dead Island 2 versus Dying Light 2. Which, let me say, I think both of these games are absolutely amazing in their own rights, and they can live in harmony and peace together. Back to the point. Dead Island 2, once released, was and still is praised due to its absolutely amazing gore system. If you don't know about the Dead Island 2 gore system, go check out my video or go check out some videos on that now. But it was a big draw towards Dead Island 2, and just around that same time, actually one day before, the Gut Feeling update was released, and the Gut Feeling was intended to primarily change the blood and gore and the combat system, making it feel and look more realistic and less clunky, while having some more realistic physics when it comes to where you hit and what you hit with. A lot of people saw this update coming, and knowing what we were getting in the new Dead Island game, a lot of people, including myself at the time, thought that this update was coming to compete with the gore system in Dead Island 2. Though after everyone was going at the developers saying that, they pointed out that they've been working on this since before the Dead Island 2 gore system was even announced, and they've been planning its release for quite a while. It was almost perfect that Dead Island 2 was releasing when it did, because they were able to combat the players leaving Dying Light 2 and keep some playing. They also added in a new gear transmog, allowing you to change the look of your gear while keeping the stats, letting you slay in style and efficiency. There was also a new weapon blueprint system where you could get blueprints to create certain weapons, also adding affixes and buffs that added positive stats, all randomized for every weapon that you craft. The last big part of that update was a new bounty system where it added in new daily and weekly bounties to obtain XP and other rewards. Yeah, I know that there was a lot more in that update, you know, co-op, optimization, all that stuff, but really those were the biggest aspects of the Gut Feeling update. Moving on to the more recent update, Good Luck, Good Night, which was released in late June of this year. It may not seem like it, but that was the bigger update that really changed a lot in the game. So with Good Night, Good Luck, it added in a total revamp to the parkour. Along with that, there was a total revamp to the night altogether. To go a little more into detail, there was a lot of people when the game was released that critiqued a lot of things in the parkour that felt really different from Dying Light 1. For example, the sprinting system felt weird, as there was an auto sprint with running being a boost. I think the fans got through to them though, because one of the first things listed is sprinting being changed to a more usual running and sprinting system. Another gripe that players had with the parkour is the fact that it felt very floaty and unrealistic, so they decided to make things more tied down to earth and realistic, while still keeping it smooth, also adding in a few new animations for vaulting and other stuff. They also sped things up and slowed things down where they felt and fans thought that it needed to be. But parkour was just one side of the update. The other big part was the revamp of night. The other big issue that a lot of fans had with the game was the way that night felt. If you remember the first game, there was an actual rush and fear about running around at night. It was so dark, the zombies got much stronger, there were volatiles waiting to tear you apart. But with the harsher conditions of night, there was also so much more XP and so much more reward to it. In Dying Light 2 though, the nights are not very dark, and it seems like the chases you would get into with the volatiles were either easy to run your way out of or easy to fight your way out of. With this update though, they made the nights much harder, much darker, the zombies are actually scarier and stronger. They also changed up the HUD to make nighttime feel a little more immersive. On the topic of immersive, they changed the whole way the zombies population, setting up more unexpected encounters both inside buildings and out. They also changed the chase sequences to make them feel just a little less scripted, and honestly, those were the big game changers in that update, and those two updates were the big game changers in the game. As I said too, I know there was a lot more things that went into those updates, like bug fixes, graphical fixes. I know there's a huge graphical update that came along too, but that doesn't really change how the game is played, and that's really what I'm focusing on. So moving on to what I noticed. I can name off 100 different things that were changed or fixed, but I want to focus in on the topics that I just listed off and how I noticed them in the game. You know, honestly, I haven't touched Dying Light 2 since Dead Island 2 came out. Not that I think it's a bad game or I like one more over the other. I just only have room for really one zombie game at a time. So Dying Light 2 got pushed aside by Dead Island 2. But I thought the best way to do this video was to play the game for a couple of hours and try to see if there was anything that I noticed outright being different. I took some notes on what I knew for sure was different. Then afterwards, I looked into all of the exact changes to see exactly what I noticed was placebo or if the changes I actually saw and felt were real changes. I will start with the things that I actually noticed with the gut feeling update and the combat differences. I want to make clear, I never disliked the combat of Dying Light 2, not even the gore. I thought all in all the game was released with some pretty solid combat accompanied by some pretty good looking gore. So at first I really didn't notice a big difference, especially after playing Dead Island 2. But after an hour or so, I started noticing that I felt like there was more impact to the hits. When I used a blade, it felt like the blade got stuck into the enemies, you know, being able to cut off more limbs in more exact areas, or when you slice the neck, the head would come off, but if you hit the top of the head, it would scalp it back, exposing brain and eye sockets. If you used a bat, on the other hand, it felt like you were leaving dents in your enemy with every strike. It felt like there was just so much force with the hits. I also noticed that when you would slice a zombie's abdomen, I did notice a lot more realistic guts, and when pulling the blade back, the blood seems to have new physics on the blade, flinging around and dripping off, which really realistic blood physics like this is something I've only seen done well in Red Dead Redemption 2. Even with an amazing gore system in Dead Island 2, the blood physics don't even compare. That might not seem like a huge detail, but in my opinion, it's those small things that add up a lot to the immersion. I also noticed that there was a whole lot better ragdoll system. I used to be able to launch zombies and humans what felt like 100 feet, and though you still launch enemies quite a bit, the ragdoll physics makes it seem a lot better and a lot more realistic. You can also tell in the simplest explanation that the combat's not as easy and there's more challenge to it. A lot of zombie games, Dead Island 2 included, have you just running through crowds of zombies, effortlessly striking them down left to right. But it feels like after the updates, combat with zombies feels a little harder, and you might need to be a little smarter as more zombies join in. And honestly, that's all I really noticed firsthand about the gut feeling update, but really that's the smaller update. On to the bigger update and the things I noticed about Good Luck, Good Night. By the way, I might say good night, good luck, good night, interchanging those. I'm sorry. I'm reading off these notes, and honestly, after doing so many takes, I'm not in the right mind state to be doing this, but I'm doing it anyway for you guys. But on to Good Luck, Good Night. So this is where I really noticed a huge difference, to be honest. I was one of the people who honestly had a huge issue with the way that the parkour felt in Dying Light 2 when it was released. I was even with everyone else thinking that it was really floaty and almost like Jedi level force leaps. The wall running and certain ledge grabbing felt very similar to like boosting in Advanced Warfare, so I didn't really like it. And as I mentioned before, I was working on the video for Dying Light 2 a while ago, and in that video I mentioned that the parkour was super floaty, and I just thought that the Dying Light 1 parkour was way better, but when I played it after the updates, I noticed right away that I was loving the parkour, and I was running around left and right, building top to building top. I absolutely love parkour in games, and sometimes find myself just free running for like 20 minutes or so, and that is exactly what I did here. I wrote in my notes that everything felt less floaty, a lot smoother, yet I didn't even know whether or not there was a parkour update. I knew that this was a big update for the nighttime, but I didn't even know if there was parkour included, and I instantly could tell that the parkour was better. And when I went to look at the update page, Techland themselves said that they made the parkour less floaty. They used the word floaty. And with the revamped parkour system, I found myself dying quite a bit. And though that might be a shame for me, I think that's good on the game's part because that means the parkour is different enough in the revamp that it wasn't what I was used to. I couldn't leap as far, I couldn't jump as high, that kind of stuff. And I mean that in the best way because the parkour was something that needed to change a lot. Onto the side of nights, I did used to exploit the night system before the update. I would do everything at night to get the XP boost, sleeping through the day, as honestly, the chases were so easy to get out of, and I could just avoid the zombies I didn't need to fight. Though playing it now, I noticed that I died a lot more times, not expecting zombies to be in certain areas or volatiles jumping from nowhere, and with the volatiles, I had a couple of chases that actually made my hands sweat and got me on the edge of my seat. Along with all of that, the update log says the nights were a noticeable amount darker, and honestly, my monitor is really dark, so half of the games I play feel like they're way darker than they should be, so I didn't really see a difference there, but I think that's all on me, not on the game. All in all, I enjoyed the gut feeling update, but Good Night, Good Luck was honestly the update that will probably get me into playing Dying Light 2 again, even if it's just to run around and do parkour. Now this video is getting longer than I feel it needs to be. I feel like this game is actually really different now. It feels almost like how Assassin's Creed Rogue is a copy of Black Flag with a few upgrades. That's kind of how this feels the updates made this game. I really enjoyed Dying Light 2 on release, but with the updates we've gotten in the past few months, I will say that I am way driven to play it more. Maybe it's because I enjoyed playing it after a while, but honestly, I think the updates have fixed a lot of the things that I had little gripes over, and honestly, I think they made the game a lot better, along with giving us a little bit of new content and immersion, so I think that they did a really good job sticking up to the release of Dead Island 2, even if they weren't trying to. But as I said, that's about all I have to say about this video and all the differences that the Dying Light 2's updates have brought. If you enjoyed this video, let me know what you enjoyed down in the comments below. I know I missed a lot of stuff that the updates brought in, but as I said, I just wanted to focus in on the things that I noticed while playing. But if you enjoyed anything and noticed what I noticed or noticed more than I noticed, throw that down in the comments. And if you just want to give me some suggestions on some games, throw that in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to go check out my channel at all of the other videos I have. It's flowing with videos, and definitely like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of the new videos coming out. Don't forget to check out BillyTheWhip.com or just Billy the Whip on any music platform if you heard any music in this video that you liked and want to check out. And as always, have a great day. I'm so happy that I made it to the end of this. I feel like puking.
Peace. There was a misinput, calm down!